What happens when I bet my marriage on my ex's promise and wake up blocked by him, ignored by my friends, and watched by strangers? How can a night I called freedom end with my full name, read in a public lobby, and a schedule I did not choose? Why does my husband look calm when the envelope hits my hand, like he already knew the ending? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Ianthe Gray, and I count pills at Riverside Chemist. I tell customers to follow steps and stay calm. At home, I said the same rule should work for love. My husband, Elias, asked for plain words. I said my heart needed a second chance. He asked if my ex, Ronan, was part of the plan. I said healing sometimes needs history. He went quiet and set our daughter Marnie's lunchbox on the counter. A sticky note said, "Bring forms." 2 mugs stood on opposite counters again. I called the gap a style choice. He called it space. I posted a bright caption about choosing joy. My mother sent hearts. My brother sent jokes. Elias checked the wall planner and circled a date in red. I asked what it meant. He said busy week. His phone lit once as private and went face down. I said secrets. He said spam. I told myself brave women take action, then the world adjusts. Ronan messaged that we could be real if I left. He asked if I would meet after work. I said yes because courage must move. Elias asked if I would be home by 10. I said clocks are cages. I believed love was a door. I believed I could walk through. I came home late and said trains moved like syrup. The apartment smelled like lemon cleaner and warm air from the vent. Elias had washed dishes and leaned them like neat soldiers in the rack. 2 mugs stood on opposite counters again, his by the kettle, mine near the fruit bowl. I said the mugs looked dramatic, like they were in a fight. He said the space kept things simple. I said space meant fear. He asked if I had eaten. I said I took little bites with the girls. He asked if bites counted as dinner. I said laughter fed me better. He slid Marnie's lunchbox onto the counter and tucked a sticky note inside that said, "Bring forms." I told him schools drown parents in paper. He said paper kept small people safe. I said small people needed a mother who stayed alive inside. He asked me to sit and speak plainly. I walked around the island instead and traced the countertop with my finger. He asked if Ronan had written again. I said healing needed history sometimes. He asked if meeting after work meant I was leaving. I said leaving sounded harsh. I said I was stepping toward truth. He asked if I would be home by 10. I said, clocks are cages. I took off my ring and dropped it into the dish by the sink. The sound was soft and brave. He looked at the ring more than at my face. I raised my phone and filmed my hand with the empty ring line. I posted a caption that joy is a door we choose to open. I watched the view count. His name appeared high. My mother, Leela, sent hearts. My brother, Jasper, sent a crown and wrote that weak men hate brave women. I flipped the screen for Elias to see. He said the internet would not raise Marnie. On the wall planner, a new red circle sat on next Thursday. I said I did not draw it. He said he did. I asked what it meant. He said it marked a busy morning. I asked what time. He said details later. I called it vague. He called it private. I laughed and said he loved paper more than air. He said paper kept rooms calm. I said rooms needed music. He said routines kept Marnie steady. He set the kettle to boil. Steam fogged the cupboard door. He asked me to say out loud what I was doing. I said I was following a second chance. He asked if second chances start while first promises still stand. I said promises must stretch or they break. He said stretched promises are already broken. I called him dramatic. He did not raise his voice. He moved the dish towel to the rack in a straight line and asked if Ronan had a plan. I said Ronan had a heart. He said hearts come and go. Schedules keep children fed. He carried a basket of folded clothes to the guest room. I followed to the doorway. The bed looked smooth, but lightly pressed, like a palm had touched it in thought. I said sleeping in there made him theatrical. He said sleeping there kept Marnie's night quiet. I said Marnie sleeps like a stone. He said stones still feel the tide. I said he was turning our house into a museum. He said he was keeping noise out of a child's room. I said he loved rules more than love. He said love looked like breakfast at 7 and shoes by the door at 8. Back in the kitchen, his phone lit once with a muted banner labeled private. He turned it face down. I said secrets. He said spam. I said spam did not ask for a calendar block. He did not answer. He cleaned a spoon with slow care. I opened my tote to change lip balm and saw a strange photo near the top of my gallery. The corner of a document on a dark table, a line of numbers, and a word half cut. I did not remember tapping it. I told myself the camera fired by accident. I scrolled away and took a mirror shot instead. From the balcony door, I looked down at the parking lot. Our car faced the street like it wanted to leave first thing. I said he parked like he was ready to run. He said he parked like a person who wakes early. I said he was making a point. He said points were for fights and he was not fighting. He asked again if I would be home by 10. I said I needed space to breathe and return as a better mother. He asked if better mothers keep their word. I said better mothers keep their light on. He sat at the small desk and opened the laptop. A clean desktop showed 2 main folders, Archive A and Archive B. He opened a sheet full of small squares and dates. I said he was turning us into a spreadsheet. He said he was organizing the week. I stepped closer. The window slid down and minimized. I said, hiding tells the truth about fear. He said, focusing tells the truth about care. I said his focus felt like punishment. He said punishments are loud. This was order. I slipped on a jacket and took my tote. He put his hand on the back of a chair and asked me to rethink. I said I had already done the hard thinking, and now I would act. He asked me to speak with him in front of the sink and choose our child with my next sentence. I said adults can meet and talk and still be good parents. He said teenagers understand no better than that. I said he was using teacher words to trap me. He said he would keep bedtime, lunches, and drop-off steady. I said steady was small. He said small is safe when hands are 6 years old. The hallway light hummed. Our neighbour, Mr. Yates, opened his door and closed it again. His peephole felt like an eye with nothing better to do. I smiled at the eye as if it were a camera. I left with brave steps and louder thoughts. In the stairwell, my phone buzzed. A text preview from a contact, saved only as an emoji, flashed a heart and a location. I deleted the preview without opening. The small power of erasing felt like control. When I returned near midnight, the living room lamp threw a neat rectangle on the rug. The kettle sat dry on the back burner. The mug still stood on opposite counters, like 2 moons. The apartment air carried a faint warm paper smell, like a printer had worked and then slept. I told myself it came from the office across the street. I washed my face and tied my hair back so I looked like I owned the night. As I passed the guest room, the door eased shut with a small click, as though a fingertip finished a sentence. I stood in the dark hall and told myself I was the brave one here. I believed that sentence because it had a fast rhythm. Riverside Chemist smelled like mint, plastic, and paper. I liked the front counter because it works like a stage with rules. I told customers to follow steps and breathe. I liked hearing myself say those words. The receipt printer spooled and spat thin strips. The main printer behind the glass gave a slow shush and a little clack. The toner smell slid up my nose and drew a warm line. I thought of the faint paper smell at home last night and shook it off. Ms. Caro walked by with her tablet and that calm face she uses for warnings. She asked if I had a minute for a quick word. I said of course and stood straighter, so I looked like a person who manages things. She asked about my late-night caption, about choosing joy and second chances. I said the caption was wellness and community. She said a few customers asked if we mix personal drama with their refills. I said, questions mean engagement. She said the store liked engagement that did not confuse the brand. I said, modern customers want real people. She asked me not to tag the pharmacy in personal posts. I said, personal posts help foot traffic. She said partners read tags. I said, partners love energy. She said partners love steady staff. Then she asked if I could put my phone in the drawer during rush. I said yes in a voice that buys time. Back at the counter, I added a calendar block called Meeting, Personal at 6:15. The little square looked official and safe. I opened a browser and typed storage options and delivery tracking and notary near me, because I wanted to taste the kind of words Elias keeps in his mouth. The letters looked like fences. I closed the tabs, reopened the dispensing screen, and smiled at a lady who needed bandage strips. A young man at the window showed me his phone. He said a friend had reshared my rooftop clip and asked if I worked here. I said yes, and that community meant honest staff. He said honest can be loud and still not kind. I said loud truth heals faster. He raised his eyebrows like someone who picks up heavy boxes for a living and walked away. Mr. Quill from HR waved me into the side cubicle at 10. He had a folder closed with 2 fingers, like he was holding a small bird. He said he had seen a few customer messages about staff pages. He moved the screen so I could see a thread titled Follow Up. He read a short line, staff page too personal, kids follow. He asked me to keep captions neutral during shifts and to avoid tagging the store when posts turned personal. I said I could be mindful. He thanked me and did not hand me any paper, only words. I counted that as a win. The printer near the back spooled again and pushed out a blank page. I touched it. The warmth felt like a memory. I dropped it into recycling and told myself my life was not a printer that needed parts. I answered the phone, counted pills, and told 3 people to drink water with their tablets. I filmed the water dispenser in a small loop and posted it with hydration is care. I did not include my face. I felt noble for 5 minutes. Around noon, Elias texted, Downtown, 8:40 a.m. Thursday, covered. I typed that the title sounded like a spy movie. He wrote that it was a private errand. I wrote that I could help if he asked nicely. He wrote that drop-off and pick-up was set. The line read like a door closing softly. I stared at the red circled date on a picture of our wall planner I kept on my phone. The circle looked more like a target each time I saw it. A sponsor rep for a weekend health fair stopped by with flyers. She asked if staff social media was monitored. I said we were modern and we walk and chew gum. She said modern still uses fences with roads. I said, fences keep good people out. She said fences keep children from traffic. Her tone stayed gentle. I smiled and took the flyers. The top one smelled like glue and fresh ink. The odor slid into my chest like a small warning. After lunch, I stepped outside to the bench by the pharmacy window and filmed the mural on the wall. Bright hands holding a heart. I wrote that community means holding. I did not tag Ronan. My thumb wanted to. I watched a mother push a stroller and speak into her phone in a low voice. She sounded like the kind of person people trust because the voice was not big. Inside, Ms. Carrow stood by the counter. She asked for another quick word in the aisle between hairbrushes and cotton balls. She said the mayor's office might tour on Thursday, and the lobby should be calm. I said I would keep it calm. She asked if I could move my meeting, personal block, so I would not be half present at rush hour. I said I would try. She thanked me and went back to her tablet. By 3, my hands moved like a clean machine. Count, label, explain, smile. The rhythm smoothed the hard edge in my chest. My phone buzzed with a voice note from Lila. Free women lead families to light. Jasper sent a meme showing me as a knight, holding a heart-shaped shield. I let the voice note play against my palm with low volume. The words sank into my skin like lotion. I told myself I was right, because I liked how it felt. Shift ended at 5. I closed the till and wiped the counter in straight lines to prove I respect surfaces. On my way out, a customer at the soda fridge watched me and tilted her phone so I could see my rooftop clip in the corner of her screen. She did not speak. The silence felt like a mirror you cannot tilt. I lifted my chin the way people do when they refuse to bow. At home, Elias sat at the small desk. The laptop glowed with a spreadsheet full of colored cells. I stepped closer, and the window dropped and minimized. I laughed and said he was writing a novel about me. He said he was organizing house things. I said house things sounded like punishment. He said house things were house things. He signed Marnie's reading log with neat initials and dates. He slid a thin binder labeled Utilities into his tote. It looked thicker than bills. I said he was building a parade of paper to control me. He said paper keeps roofs dry. I walked to the wall planner again. The red circle sat like a coin of heat. I took a photo and almost posted it, then remembered the sponsor and Ms. Caro. I put my phone away and moved my mug an inch closer to his, then back again, just to watch the stage change. The apartment smelled faintly of warm paper again. I told myself it came from work and had stuck to my clothes. Marnie came in and showed me a sticker star from school. I said I would post it later. Elias said we could clap now. I clapped once, loud. He did not match it. He asked if I had moved my meeting block. I said the night flows when it wants. He said bedtime would be steady at 7:30. I said steady kills joy. He said steady keeps small hearts safe. He checked the lock and the stove and placed his phone face up on the counter. It lit once with a muted banner that said private. He tapped it away. He moved 2 mugs onto opposite counters for morning. The space between them looked like a hallway I could not walk. The rooftop bar lay like a bright plate over the city. Bulbs hung in soft lines, and the wind moved them like small thoughts. I said this was a good night for brave choices. My friends arrived in pairs and shouted my name. I said girls' night was a trust exercise. They asked if Elias minded. I said adults can breathe without asking. I did not add that Ronan had already told the door host he would drop by. We took a long table by the rail. I filmed a slow pan of shoes and glitter and wrote that second chances taste like air. Hearts climbed the screen. Leela sent a voice note that freedom needs witnesses. Jasper sent a meme with a crown. I let the voice note play against my palm. The words soaked in like heavy lotion. I decided I was right because lotion felt good. Ronan stepped in from the stairwell like a breeze people pretend not to feel. He hugged 2 friends and said he came for music. I said, music likes courage. He asked if this plan had timing. I said timing was a cage and we were past cages. He tilted his head like a person who trusts stairs more than ropes. He stayed close enough to be seen and far enough to run. A promoter asked me to tag the venue. I said of course, and aimed my phone so the neon cut across my shoulder. I turned my hand so the ring line hid. The clip looked clean. I posted with a caption about healing in public. A woman at the table behind us said my caption sounded like a dare. I said dares are how people meet truth. She said truth can come in quiet. I said quiet belongs to people with small lives. She turned back to her friends. Phones started to rise like little moons. I messaged Elias that the venue wanted a charity link. I said I would meet the manager in a corner. A red dot showed and then died. I took the dot as consent because that made the story smooth. My friends planned a toast. They said I should speak because I had the strongest mouth. I stood on the bench where the skyline looked like a low fire. I lifted my glass and said marriages do not break from brave talk. They break from lies. I said I would leave a cold cage to save a warm heart. Some clapped. Some frowned. Ronan stood a few paces back and gave that small smile men use when exits are near. A man near the rail said I was cruel to a good father. I said, love needs air or it dies. A camera flash cracked across my eyes. I held my smile because wide smiles sit better on screens. The DJ called for a special shout. The crowd turned to the booth. He spoke my handle into the mic, then said the room should lift women who choose. The line fed me like a sweet drink. I raised my glass again and said, "Research is not betrayal. Research is safety." I said, "Test the brakes before you drive the mountain." A few laughed. Someone called me brave. Another voice called me dishonest. I said dishonesty hides in quiet houses. I felt big enough to lift the roof. Ronan leaned in and asked if I had told Elias he would be here. I said adults can share a room and still be clean. He asked if I had a plan for tomorrow. I said tomorrow respects people who move. He looked toward the stairwell as if tomorrow lived there. I told myself he was pacing himself for me. I slipped to the smoking patio to cool my face. The bass spilled out and splashed across the sky. I opened my gallery to choose a clip. Near the top sat that odd shot again. A document corner on a dark table with a line of numbers. I did not remember the moment my thumb made it. I scrolled past and picked the skyline clip where my chin looked firm. I wrote that fear dies where women stand together. 2 strangers nearby debated my caption. One said I had courage. The other said courage without kindness builds walls. I said walls keep danger out. The second stranger said walls keep love out too. I smiled at the air like a person who wins arguments. My phone buzzed with a message from a contact saved only as an emoji. The preview showed a heart and almost there. I let it glow and deleted the preview without opening. I told myself, small deletions are proof of control. Ronan took a photo of the group and said he would send it later. I said later loved people like me. He laughed softly and checked the time. When I walked back inside, my friends chanted my handle. They lifted glasses, phones held steady. The chant grew, like a machine that wants to run. I climbed the bench again. I said I had already chosen the map. I said Elias would adjust because families adjust to light. A few faces went blank. That blankness made me louder. I said Marnie would thank me one day for saving my fire. The wind caught my hair. I felt electric and clean, the way I feel when I open the pharmacy on time. The crowd counted down from 3. I lifted my glass at 1. Multiple phones started recording in a bright field. The camera flash burned again. For a breath, white circles drifted in my vision like snow. I smiled wider, because cameras love wide. Ronan stepped back farther and pointed his lens at me, as if I were a poster he needed to capture before the rain. The family restaurant smelled like fries and crayons. A small birthday cake hissed at a nearby table where a sparkler ran down. Marnie wore a paper crown and tried to set the elastic behind her ears. I said the crown looked brave. Ruth, my mother-in-law, sat upright with that registrar calm that makes people behave. She asked how work was. I said busy with community love. She asked if community loved child bedtime. I said children thrive near bright mothers. She turned to Marnie and asked about spelling instead. Elias told the server we would keep water for now. He paid our part early, which he always does when he wants a clean exit ready. I said early looked like running away. He said early looked like steady planning. His voice stayed soft. It made me want to be louder, so I gave a short speech. I said, second chances make strong families. I said, honest mothers teach daughters to choose joy. Forks paused above plates. No one clapped. Our neighbor, Mr. Yates, sat 2 tables away with a salad and that long stare of a man who notices details. I lifted my chin as if I liked being watched. The server recognized me from a reshared rooftop clip and asked if she could follow my page. I said yes, because yes is my brand. Jasper texted the family thread a rocket. Lila wrote that in-laws fear light. Ruth's mouth did not change shape. It is a trained mouth. Trained mouths win. Elias's phone gave a small sound. A banner showed, paper drop, 10:55 a.m. He dismissed it. I asked what paper drop meant. He said it was a reminder for errands. I said it sounded like code. He said labels save time. He slid a thin utilities binder into his tote. It looked thicker than bills. I said he was building a paper parade. He said receipts cure memory. Marnie tugged my sleeve. She asked why Daddy slept in the guest room. I said Daddy needed quiet for numbers. She asked if I loved Daddy. I said love changes shape and stays love. She asked if leaving to be with Ronan was kind. The air cooled, the way air cools when the restaurant AC pounces on the room. I said meeting old friends could be responsible. She asked again if it was kind. I sipped water to buy seconds and said, kindness tells the truth, even when it hurts a little. She looked at her crown and went still. Cake arrived for the next table. The child there squealed. Marnie clapped quickly and then folded her hands. Ruth asked if Marnie could come to the park with her after lunch. I said we had plans. Elias said the park would be gentle. He looked at Marnie and asked if she wanted swings. She nodded. I offered to join, but no one waited for my offer. Everyone stood with that careful scrape of chairs that belongs to polite families. We walked to the small playground behind the restaurant. The swings squeaked in small circles. Elias pushed with his teacher rhythm. Count 3, slow 4. Marnie asked if we were a two-house family like her friend. Elias said we had one home and 2 rooms right now. I said adventure keeps hearts awake. She asked if adventure means leaving your family to be with someone else. The phrase someone else stung like a small cut. I said adventure means telling the truth and coming back stronger. She said coming back hurts if someone waits. The line cut deeper because it sounded like a sentence a teacher gives to the board. A cousin from the lunch table stopped by the fence and asked if posting nights with X's helps the pharmacy brand. I said customers want real staff. She said parents want steady staff. I said steady and real can live in one woman. She nodded and walked away thinking. The swing chain squeaked again like a clock begging not to be ignored. The sky pulled thin clouds over the sun. We left the park when the shade made the seat cold. On the way to the cars, Marnie slipped her small hand into mine. She asked if kisses with X's are tests that make families strong. I said, kisses are information. She asked if information is kind. The question sat heavy in my mouth. Elias opened the car and said they would be home by 3. I said I had flyers to design. He said routine would hold. Instead of the pharmacy, I drove to the supermarket because bright aisles make brains smooth. Under the self-check lights, Mr. Yates rolled a cart past and gave me his accountant nod. I filmed a basket shot with flowers and wrote that homes bloom when women lead. The camera made my face look hopeful. Hopeful faces get likes. I let myself be a hopeful face for 20 seconds. Back at the apartment, the hallway smelled faintly of warm paper again, as if a machine had worked nearby and then rested. Inside, the guest bed looked smooth but pressed at one corner. 2 mugs stood on opposite counters like markers on a map. I slid mine closer to his, then back to my side, like a small rehearsal for a fight I wanted him to pick. He did not pick it. He gathered Marnie's library book and asked who would read. She said Daddy finishes chapters. I smiled big to cover the sting. He opened her reading log and signed with neat initials and dates. He set his tote by the desk. The laptop showed a sheet of colored cells. The moment my shadow touched the edge of the desk, the window slid down and minimized. I laughed and said he was writing a novel about me again. He said he was organizing house things. I said house things were codes for punishments. He said house things were house things. The phrase bored me because it did not give me a handle to shake. I checked my phone. The rooftop clip had grown long comments. Some called me bold. Some called me cruel. Lila sent a voice note that legends grow from smoke. Jasper sent a meme where I wore armor and a fire crown. I let the note run as a whisper against my palm. It did not warm me as much as before. From the hall, footsteps came and paused outside our door. The pause sounded like a pencil deciding whether to mark the paper. Then the steps moved on. I breathed like the pharmacy, slow and clear, and told myself I did not care. I messaged Ronan a wave. He replied with 3 dots, then nothing. I typed a question and erased it. I posted a tiny story from the balcony with the caption ready to fly. The wind shoved hair into my mouth. The caption looked like begging. I deleted it. We ate early. Elias set a plate for Marnie and a smaller one for me. He asked if I would be home for bedtime. I said maybe, if the night wanted me to be. He said bedtime would not wait for want. Marnie looked between us and chewed slowly, like slow chewing could hold the evening in place. I told myself bedtime was a habit, not a rule. After dishes, Marnie brought me a sticker she had saved. She asked who would put it on the log. I said I could, but Elias held the pen. He wrote with those careful strokes again and closed the book like a small door. I looked at the ring dish. It held my ring like a bright punctuation mark I did not want to use. The red circle on the planner burned at the edge of my eye. Marnie asked again, soft as a leaf, if leaving to be with Ronan was kind. I smiled too wide and said, truth must live even if comfort gets cold. She nodded the way children nod, when they know the answer is wrong, but bedtime comes anyway. Elias cleared the plates and did not make a speech. He looked at the clock and at the guest room door, which stood open 3 inches like a mouth that refused to shout. The school pickup line crept along the curb like a slow river under a grey sky. Parents shifted feet and checked their screens. I told myself sidewalks make men careful, so this was my place to win the story back. Elias stood near the crossing sign with his badge clipped inside his jacket. He waved to a teacher and kept his posture low, the way he does when storms try to start. He asked if I had seen the reading reminder. I said I would handle it later because I was drafting a fundraiser idea. He said bedtime would be normal. I said normal kills joy. He said normal keeps kids calm. Marnie ran out with her backpack bumping her sides. She hugged him first. He asked if the horsebook still won. She said the horse saved energy and finished strong. I said fast horses win by speed. He said fast without finish is noise. I raised my voice a little and said he loved words like routine because they made him feel tall. A father nearby looked at his shoes as if they were complicated. Elias kept his eyes on Marnie and said we would talk at home. In the car, I put Lila on speaker and said Elias used quiet as a net. Lila said men make nets with silence and told me to cut holes with sound. Marnie asked if the phone could be private. Elias tapped the audio off and said calls would be private when she was in the car. I said he was controlling. He said that was called parenting. The streetlights blinked through leaf shadows. I studied my face in the window and told myself I could talk any net into string. At home, he hung the backpack on the hook and set apple slices on a plate. He asked about spelling. Marnie said she got a star. I said I would post the star later so people could cheer. He said we could clap now. I clapped once, loud. He did not match it. He opened the reading log and signed with neat initials and dates. The pen strokes looked like rails. I said rails like that make people boring. He said rails like that keep trains on bridges. He put on headphones for a short call and stood by the window. He said hello in that measured voice he uses with stormy students. He said 2 times work next week. He used initials, not names. He said he would deliver by Friday. He listened, said thank you, and ended. He coiled the cord into a small loop and set it straight, like even the wire needed order. I said he was playing courthouse with tiny times. He said he was being a father who keeps track. In the kitchen, 2 mugs waited on opposite counters again. He moved mine an inch toward me and set his near the kettle. He washed a spoon and dried it with the same care he uses when he parts Marnie's hair for school pictures. He opened a drawer and slid in 3 labeled binders: home, auto, bank. The tabs lined up like a quiet staircase. I laughed and said he had built a tiny government to manage my fire. He said systems help when storms come. I said storms clear the air. He said storms also pull roofs off. He went to the desk and opened the laptop. A spreadsheet filled the screen with colored cells and small dates. I said it looked like a graveyard for feelings. He tapped save. A cloud sync pop-up blinked. File uploaded successfully. He closed the window. I leaned closer. The next screen slid down and minimized before my eyes could land. I said, minimizing was hiding. He said minimizing was focusing. I said he was collecting crumbs to starve me later. He said he was collecting facts so no one needed to shout. Marnie brought her book and asked who would read tonight. He said he would. I said I could if she wanted a fun voice. She said Daddy finishes chapters. The sentence pricked like a thin needle. He pulled a thin binder labeled Utilities and circled a date. I said he was wasting ink to feel tall. He said dates keep roofs honest. I said roofs cannot read. He said budgets can. I tried a softer turn. I said my move toward Ronan was for healing, not betrayal, and I came home, which proved loyalty. He said coming home is geography, loyalty is choice. I said he did not understand modern love. He said love keeps promises or changes shape in plain words. I said plain words are ugly. He said ugly words still hold houses up. I said our friends clapped for me. He said our child needs sleep more than applause. He carried the binder to the hall and slid it into a tote. The hallway held that faint, warm paper smell again, like a machine had worked and then rested. I said he was building a stage with props. He said he was building a week. The shredder in the nook hummed for a short breath and stopped, like a machine exhaling. I said shredding was dramatic. He said it was tidying. I said tidy is a threat. He said tidy is respect when words run hot. He set his phone on the counter. A small alarm flashed. Paper drop. He dismissed it with one thumb and turned the screen face down. I said paper drops sound like parades for clerks. He said parades are loud, plans are quiet. He filled Marnie's bottle and checked her pocket for the library slip. He looked at me then, flat and calm, and said he would handle matters properly. He did not raise his voice. He did not list steps. He said the word, like a door already on hinges. The word landed in the kitchen and did not move. I wanted him to shout so I could point and call him cruel. He would not. He set 2 mugs on opposite counters for morning. He wiped the sink and flicked off the bright light so the smaller lamps could take over. The house changed to bedtime sounds, pages turning, a glass placed carefully, the soft slide of a drawer. Those sounds make lies angry because they never clap. I walked to the balcony and filmed the street and wrote that brave love needs tests. Hearts rose up the screen. I watched them march because marching hearts look like proof. Inside, he placed a tiny USB stick with today's date beneath the taxes folder and closed the drawer. The lock clicked small and final. He checked the wall planner and tapped the red-circled date once with a finger, just a touch. Ronan finally replied with a 2-word text that read still moving. I asked where. No answer. I sent a star. The star sat alone in the thread like a coin at the bottom of a fountain no one visits. I refreshed until I hated myself for refreshing. Lila sent a voice note urging me to push forward. Jasper sent a meme with a crown next to a dumpster fire. It did not help. Elias read to Marnie until 7:30. He came out with that end-of-chapter look, calm and alert, like a pilot after a smooth landing. He checked the stove, the window latch, the lock. He did not ask me to agree about anything. He said again that he would handle it properly. The word sat between us like a heavy cup no one could knock over. I tried to call Ronan. The call bounced to a fast tone. I opened our thread to send a photo of my ring in the dish. The send hung. Then a grey line appeared. Notification silenced. I told myself phones glitch. I snapped a selfie with a steady chin and typed, "Ready when you are." The message showed delivered, and then nothing. The bright screen reflected my mouth, which looked stubborn and young. I wanted it to look wise. Marnie padded out with her rabbit. She asked if pancakes would be in the morning. I said I had a meeting, personal, but I would be back early. She asked if the meeting was with girls or with Ronan. The words drew a hard line in the air. I laughed and said meetings are with ideas. She looked at Elias and nodded the kind of nod children give when they prefer maps to stories. He saw her to bed. In the hall, the hum of the shredder started again for one breath and stopped. I watched his outline move like a clock hand. I asked if we could still edit without court. He said the house would be calm. He said routine would hold. He said the inbox would have what I needed to see, in time. He returned to the desk, checked one more cell on the sheet, and shut the lid. The courthouse lobby felt like a clean echo. Marble floors sent shoe sounds back to ankles. I came to meet Ms. Caro for a neutral coffee and to pitch a quiet apology plan for the pharmacy. I also planned a soft selfie by the art wall because marble forgives in pictures. I wore a dress that said, "I respect rules and cameras at the same time." Flags by the doors moved with the building's breath. Ms. Caro texted that she was almost there and HR might join. Good, I thought. 2 birds in one talk. I messaged Ronan a quick line that said I was free now. The bubble bounced and then grey text appeared. "You can't send messages to this user." The word slid into my stomach like a stone. I typed his name again, and the app refused to help. I told myself servers break and would fix themselves in a minute. An elevator bell chimed. Doors slid open. A few people stepped into the lobby with folders and soft shoes. I angled toward the good light and practiced a contrite smile for the feed. A man with a clipboard walked from near security and came straight to me. He asked if I was Ianthe Gray. I said yes in my pharmacy voice. He asked me to confirm my address. I did, because I like to show I cooperate. He said he was here to serve me. He held out a thick envelope. On his board, through the thin top sheet, I saw a single printed word, statement. My tongue pressed against my teeth and would not move. I said I had a meeting. He said service was complete once he identified me and offered the documents. He placed the envelope into my hand. The edge left a small line at the base of my thumb. He said the date and time to his clipboard and nodded to the guard. Elias stood several paces back near the elevator bank. No bag, hands in pockets. He did not look angry or proud. He looked finished. Miss Caro entered from the side doors with Mr. Quill. They slowed when they saw the exchange. Miss Caro stepped a half step aside to give air, as if space could keep feelings off the marble. Mr. Quill glanced at the lobby clock and then wrote something in a small notebook. I said this had to be a trick. Elias said we tried talking at home and that he had told me he would handle it properly. He said the packet held a divorce petition and temporary orders. He said the orders set interim home use, primary bedroom to him and Marnie, guest room to me, until decisions were final. He said the orders created a curbside exchange schedule starting this week with fixed times. He said I would not remove Marnie from school without written consent. He said financial disclosures would go into a shared folder by dates already on the calendar. He said all communication would be by email so there would be a clear record. He said he would not discuss it around Marnie or at work again. I said we could fix this at home if I apologized. He said the orders would guide next steps and keep things steady. I said he was punishing me for choosing joy. He said this was not punishment, this was process. He said Marnie needed parents who used plans, not storms. His voice was steady, the one he uses for bus schedules and long division. He did not step closer. He did not whisper. He let the rules stand between us like a wall he did not have to touch. The process server moved away toward the atrium, already checking the next line. People near the coffee kiosk slowed and pretended to read muffin labels. A child asked for a cookie. The flag cords clicked softly against their poles each time the door opened. The envelope grew heavier while I held it. The word statement burned up through the paper in my mind, like a watermark I could not peel away. I looked to Ms. Caro. She said we could reschedule and that the store supported dignity at work. Mr. Quill asked if I needed a room. I said I was fine. The word fine tasted like chalk. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I did not answer. I lifted the envelope an inch as if the weight would drain out if I changed angle. It did not. I told Elias we could pick a kind version if he would just talk to me alone. He said he would send me the specific times and curbside locations by email today. He said the first exchange would be at 6 in front of the school, on schedule. He said I could reply by email if I needed to swap within the rules. He thanked the security desk for their patience. He told Ms. Caro and Mr. Quill that he hoped their day went smoothly. He nodded toward the exit with the calm of someone who knows which hallway is his. The lobby swallowed sound and returned it smaller. A student crossed with a backpack and asked a guard where to sign. The guard pointed without leaving his stool. The process server's shoes squeaked once on the marble and then went quiet. I held the envelope in both hands now because one hand felt too visible. I thought of the odd photo of a document corner in my gallery and understood that my fingers had known this shape before my mind did. The elevator bell chimed again. The doors opened. Elias stepped inside with 2 other people. He nodded to the guard and to Ms. Caro. He did not nod to me. He said he would send the email within the hour. He said he hoped my afternoon stayed calm. The doors began to close. The polished steel showed a quick reflection. His face steady, my face bright and small, the white of the envelope like a held breath. The doors met with a soft seal. The echo of the bell drifted along the ceiling and lost its edges. I stood under the flags with the envelope against my ribs. Through the paper, I felt the grid of a week I did not design. Somewhere a printer clicked and stopped. The lobby air smelled clean, like paper that had already chosen what it would be. I looked at my screen one last time. Ronan's thread showed nothing. The send bar would not even open. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching.